what's the business case? Why are we looking at customer experience? Whilst I appreciate that intuitively it feels right, there has to be a business case. The business case around customer experience is to increase customer loyalty. Why? Because loyal customers spend more, they cost less to service, and they generate a disproportionate amount of profit. They are also great advocates of the brand. They will recommend you to other people. They will perform a marketing function for you. So there is a hard and soft case to increasing customer loyalty and driving loyal customers. And we're going to have a look at some numbers associated with that as we go through. So by the end of the presentation, if I've done this properly anyway, everyone will understand the difference between experience and service, start to understand why it's important, and I really hope it will start to prick your conscience in terms of maybe some of the opportunities that exist within your business. So, as we've already said, customer experience is a massive topic. I could spend the rest of the day, days, if not weeks, talking about it. It's enormous. So, what I've done for simplicity is break it down into what I consider to be the core elements. And what I'm going to do now is take you through those core elements. So there's a core element about what is customer experience. We're going to look at the difference between service and experience. Why does it matter? As we've already said, intuitively it feels right, but the CFOs, the FDs will want to know the business case, and indeed it has to be substantiated. We're going to have a look at some information which I hope will start to do that. Vision and values is about where are we going and how are we going to get there. And it's about everyone in the organization understanding those vision and values. Leadership is about having the leadership in place, the visionary leadership in place at the top to both recognize that customer experience is important and also to support the business as it looks to deliver that experience, providing the leadership and inspiration to make it happen. People and culture, it all starts on the inside, critical to any business delivering fantastic customer experience is about having the right people in the business, engaged and aligned to the vision. And we will have a look at some of the elements of people and culture today. The science of customer experience, to me this is absolutely fascinating, and it really is a fundamental part of customer experience. A lot of our decisions are driven by what has happened to us in the past, i.e. memories. Feelings and emotions create memories. So whilst memories are a reflection of the past, they drive so much of what we do in the future. And there's so much linkage between evoking the right emotions in customers and the right feelings, creating those memories and wanting them to come back time and time again and do business with us. And this is a fascinating side to customer experience, the science of it, and again we're going to dip our toe in the water on that today. Differentiation. We live and work in a very competitive environment. Most of us again are in retail, very competitive. So how are we going to create differentiation that our customers will notice from our competitors and that will make them want to do business with us? So this is about creating significant differentiation. Voice of the customer, massively powerful, massively powerful. Gaining as much information, as much feedback as we can from our customers from a variety of sources and a variety of channels, but then listening to it, acting upon it, having understood it. Driving customer loyalty, the business case around all of this, we will touch on that today. The power of recovery. Many businesses see complaints as a negative, they cringe, they don't want them. In actual fact, complaints should absolutely be welcomed. They contain a plethora of information that can help you improve your business. And the research also proves that a customer who complains and is then dealt with correctly will become a very, very loyal advocate of your brand. So the power of recovery, dealing with complaints. Tools and techniques, a lot of theory. Within tools and techniques, we look at the practical steps, the tools, the how-to of execute a customer experience strategy in a business. And then finally, change. Customer experience is not a training session. It is not an initiative. It is effectively a cultural shift, and it needs to be embedded for the long term. And so depending upon the scale of the change within the business, that the organisation is looking to drive around customer experience, change management may well be required to embed it in. What is customer experience? The first element. So those are the various elements of customer experience. I've chosen as my example the restaurant customer experience. I think we can all associate with that, and the various stages a customer would go through as part of the dining experience. So some stuff is going to happen before you arrive, pre-arrival. Upon arrival, you will sense the temperature, the music, the decor, the colour scheme. As you take your seat, you're going to pick up on the cleanliness, etc., etc. So customer experience is the culmination of the various stages a customer goes through as they engage in the purchase of a service or an item from your business. And I think the interesting thing is around particularly this example, you could have, or the customer could have a great meal. The actual plate of food which is served can be fantastic. But if one or more of the other elements are below expectation, then the experience will be remembered as disappointing. And again, it's that key phrase, remembered. A memory will be created which will drive a future action. And it's the overall experience that determines whether or not customers have a one-off or an ongoing relationship with the business. And customer experience is about managing each element of the journey to ensure that you are delivering what your customer wants at every single stage. So before we go on to a more detailed look at that, I think what I'd be interested to know is, what do you guys consider to be your favourite restaurant? Not necessarily why at this stage, but what is a favourite restaurant of yours? And you have a reason for them being your favourite. So what I'd like to do now is just go into a little bit more detail around this. We've looked at the stages, and then with each of these stages there are elements of stages. So within the pre-arrival, for example, you will have to phone and book a table. When you arrive at the restaurant, you will look to park. As you approach the restaurant, you'll be looking for the signage, and then you will actually walk up to the front door. And so for each stage there are elements. And what I will do now is just allow the slide to build and bring in the various elements of each stage. And what this starts to do is demonstrate some of the complexity around customer experience. For every single stage there are numerous elements, and in actual fact there will be more than this.
Steve,
also what this demonstrates... Sorry?
Chris has put here, what about online reviews first as well, part of the experience?
Chris, you're absolutely right, and I think what I was just saying there is, in actual fact there are loads more. What I've tried to do is capture a flavour, but you're absolutely right. So the marketing for a restaurant, be it an advert or a flyer through your door, that is a touch point. Going to TripAdvisor is a touch point. Speaking to your neighbour over the garden fence is a touch point. This really does start to bring home the complexity around what is customer experience. So, you know, Chris, you're absolutely spot on. And I think what I was saying here is, in terms of the customer service, we can see that customer service, the interaction between the staff and the clients, is merely one element of the overall customer experience. And actually, picking up on Chris's point, it even goes deeper than that. So within the reservation call, when you phone up to book your table, how easy was it to find the phone number? Did you have to go online, etc., etc.? How quickly did the restaurant answer? When they answered, what were the words they used? What was their tone of voice? What was the outcome? Did they show empathy? Was it purely process-driven? And how did it end? So what this is starting to show, as I say, are the many different facets. And the fact of the matter is, and this is critical, at every stage and every element, and indeed every part, the customer will have an experience. It's not possible to not have an experience. At every single stage, element, part here, a customer will feel something. Emotions will be evoked. Those emotions and feelings will drive a memory. And customer experience management is very much about us managing and making sure at each stage, element, part, the customer feels the way we want them to feel. So they will take away a positive memory. so they will want to repeat that action and feel those nice emotions and thoughts again. And that's the essence of customer experience management, ensuring our customers feel the way we want them to feel. Why is it important? Well, I think if we think of this from our own perspective, we're all consumers. What used to impress us a couple of years ago probably doesn't now. The bar has raised. What used to be the standard now isn't. Things we wouldn't have commented in, wouldn't have criticized, wouldn't have complained about, we now do. What used to have impact doesn't anymore. So something new or different is required if we are to stay ahead. I'm going to take you through some research now done by a business called Telefaction last year. So it's very current. Telefaction are a leading market research business looking at customer behavior. They have offices in Denmark and also in California in America. And they found that 90% of consumers find customer service important when deciding who they do business with. 90%, a massively powerful number. The current economy has made customer service more important to customers, so it's a very tough environment. It's potentially around a recession. But in the UK, 60% of customers are saying that customer service is now more important than it was. This holds some very interesting information. This is saying that 50% of consumers will spend more for the same product that they could have bought somewhere else if they're going to get a higher level of customer service. The interesting thing is that they will spend up to 7% more. So a like-for-like item, half will pay more to get a better service, and the research indicates they'll pay up to 7% more. And again, Chris has made the point there. Customers are so well informed now. There is so much information around for them to make their choices. And we'll look at differentiation later on, but we have got to give customers a reason to shop with us and not with our competitors. Consumers are smarter and better informed than they've ever been. On the flip side, 60%, 6 out of 10 consumers have decided never to do business with a company because of poor customer experience. I also read some stats the other day around why customers leave a business. A similar thing. And the actual product or service came down as low as 17–18%. It wasn't about the actual product or the service. It was about the experience. And the figures I saw were around about 65% of the reason why consumers leave a business is because of experience. So this is a massively powerful driver on why people make decisions not to do business with you. Okay, some equally powerful information, again out of the States. This information has been put together by Forrester. Forrester are recognized in the US as one of the leading research organizations. So they looked at the S&P 500. What's the S&P 500, Steve? It's a stock market index based on 500 large companies listed on the New York Stock Exchange and the NASDAQ. So it's big players. The research they did over a sustained 6-year period showed that the customer experience leaders, there's a definition in that second paragraph there around what the customer experience leaders are, generated a return 3 times higher than the average, marked in blue. Conversely, the customer experience laggards lost a third of their value. So very, very, very powerful information that is starting to build a picture of just how important customer experience is. And I was looking at some stats the other day around Net Promoter Score, and again, there's not a lot around for the UK, but when you have a look at Net Promoter Score in the US, no surprise that the top 10 is dominated by 2 businesses, and one of those is Apple. No surprise at all. So again, some very, very powerful information on why this is important. So, differentiation. Differentiation is about, as it says on the tin, I guess, us giving customers a reason to shop with us and not, or many reasons, and not with our competitors. Michael Porter, intellectual out of Harvard, doesn't just study customer experience. studies business and particularly business strategy. His observations on strategy. When everything is equal, people buy on price. If you don't want to sell on price, you must make things unequal. Again, the majority of the people on this call, we're not in the low-cost sector. We're not looking to sell on price. As we all know, the low-cost sector within retail is a very, very tough place to operate. Low margins, and it also drives a certain type of culture. So if you're not going to sell on price, you've got to make things unequal, do something different. He also talks about successful business strategy being doing things your competitors don't do. They either choose not to, haven't thought about it, can't or won't. Don't compete head-on with them and try and do exactly the same thing as they do, only better. Do something different. So, make things unequal, be in a different race. Another look at differentiation.
Phil's made a comment there. He understands why I don't want to sell on price, but what if the customer wants to buy on price?
It's a very good point, Phil, a very good point. I think I'll take Chris in a minute on that, but I'd probably make two observations at this stage. Number one, it's about probably convincing your customers that, okay, the price might be high, but it's about value, and it's about what you are getting for that price. I think the other thing is that as a business, you cannot be all people to all things. And it's about making the choice between who are my customers going to be. And it may well be that there are customers you then have to let go. So I think back to my time with Aurum, and you'll be familiar with that, Phil, when we would have customers coming in to buy watches, £5,000 to £6,000, and they would say, the shop down the road is going to give us 20% off this Rolex, will you match it? And quite simply, we would let them walk. That's not the market we were in. We provide a very high level of customer experience. We weren't going to compete on price. If Jack Jones, the watch retailer 100 yards down the road, wants to give 20% discount, fine. I hope you enjoy your purchase, sir. I hope you're very, very happy with it, but you won't be buying the watch from us. It's about deciding who is your customer. It's about establishing where you want to sit in the sector. You are either price or you are either service. And as Chris says, the businesses that sit in the middle and go and don't come down in either camp, they're the ones that find themselves in a lot of trouble. Initially, the business may well start in the low cost because perhaps it's a growing sector and everyone is competing on price. But as the sector matures, and we've certainly seen that in the low airfare airlines, the service has to increase. So if we think about EasyJet and Ryanair and the level of service they were offering initially, it was an incredibly low price, but it was a bit like a cattle market. I think EasyJet were first to recognise that this cannot be sustained. We've now got to keep low prices and move quality on, service on, and for lots of reasons Ryanair also realised that. So, you know, Andy makes the point, you can do both, absolutely. Very, very difficult to do, and it also depends on the sector, it depends on the market, and it depends on the competition. The next slide, and this is again a model that looks at the differentiation. So here are your competitors, and here is you and your business. So the question is that differentiation? Well, yes, we are differentiated, but no, it's not substantial differentiation. It is not differentiation that will be noticeable enough by consumers and clients to make them come to you over your competitors. This is differentiation, establishing a considerable gap between what you do and what your competitors do. And the interesting thing here is, well, two things. First of all, there will be a quantum leap of energy, pace to create that differentiation. And then it's about maintaining it through innovation and reevaluation and reinvention continually to keep that gap, because your customers, your competitors, sorry, are going to try and catch you up. So it's no good creating that initial gap if you don't then apply the pace to maintain it. And the interesting thing about the benchmarking is it's unlikely, I don't say it's impossible, it's unlikely to be achieved. The differentiation is unlikely to be achieved by benchmarking in your sector. Because again, it goes back to Porter, you will end up doing what everyone else does, only better. You'll end up running the same race. This is about benchmarking potentially outside the sector. What are the best doing, and how can we then bring that back into our business? Vision defines the core purpose of a business. Vision is about why your people do what they do every day when they come to work. It's an aspirational description of what an organization would like to achieve or accomplish. And having a vision in place which everyone understands is an absolutely critical part of the leadership of an organization as it strives to deliver great customer experience. So, what are some of the details around that? A vision should be worthy and noble. People have got to want to be associated with the business and the vision. They have got to be able to know and understand it and memorize it. If they're going to deliver it in their everyday work, they've got to be able to remember what it means or what it stands for. It's got to be inspirational, and key is the right behaviors. I can think back to when I worked for Dixon Stores Group, and some of the things we were trying to achieve. Dave Borden, you'll probably remember this. Some of the things we were trying to achieve there, they were fundamentally wrong, and they certainly brought out the wrong behaviors around selling. So a stark contrast there of what a vision shouldn't be around. And it should stand the bar test. You're in a bar having a conversation with someone, and they say, okay, so what is your vision? It's got to be something people, again, are proud, it makes sense, people want to align themselves to, they want to talk about. So that's the theory. Let's have a look what I think is potentially a great vision. Richard Branson, when he set up Virgin Airlines, to grow a profitable airline that people love to fly and where people love to work. So again, aspirational description, very much so. Doesn't talk about hard numbers, doesn't talk about hard KPIs, but it inspires the people within that organization. And as he said, for us, our employees matter most. Common sense, you start with happy, well-motivated workforce, you're much more likely to have happy customers. And that ends in profits and shareholders. And indeed, one of the leading examples of a successful business. So having a vision in place, a clear, motivational, inspirational vision, fundamental part of delivering customer experience. And then the other elements I'd look at, many of you will have heard of Jim Collins, written a lot of books around business and successful businesses. Built to Last, he spent 6 years looking at some of the most successful businesses in the world. And what were the common traits of these businesses? And one of them was about having a very clear vision and values in place. Vision we've already looked at, so the envisioned future, the vivid description being the real detail. So yes, there might be a top level strap line, but then it's about breaking it down into a great amount of detail that the everyday person in the organization, from the most junior member of staff upwards, absolutely understands what good looks like and what we're striving to achieve. And then coupled with this are the values around the culture, the values around the behaviors that will deliver the vision. The vision may well adapt over time. The marketplace changes, the environment changes, the economy changes. So the vision is inevitably going to develop over time. The values, the core behaviors, the culture should never change. Where are we going and how shall we get there? The leadership, part of the leadership required to be in place. Is there a key thing that if we get it right, we'll make this easy, or should I say easier? But if we don't, we'll make it hard, yes. And we all know where this is going. This is about the percentage of people in your organization that have natural ability. Now, just picking up on Dave Borden's point there, putting the customer at heart, it's amazing how many businesses are still process-led. Processes that are right for the business and not for the customer. It's amazing how many businesses still recruit largely on technical skills, on technical competencies. Whereas we know again through various research that success in this arena comes through natural ability. It comes through personality, natural talent, character. And it's very much a blend of technical skills versus soft skills, logic against emotion, competence versus character. The whole subject of people is a massive element of this. And again, referencing back to the previous slide around Richard Branson, it all starts with people. So when we do work in this area, we look at recruitment, what are the criteria, how are they recruited, how they're brought into the business, what is the induction training, is it all around Dave's point again, the customer, the customer, the customer. Really understanding the vision, understanding what they're there to deliver, what they're there to do. But it starts with people. Okay, this for me is a fascinating slide, and I think gives a real insight and starts to pull together a lot of the stuff that we've spoken about. Not just me, anyone. You could spend a whole day talking about this next slide. It really is fascinating. If there's one book I would urge you to read, or that you would like to read possibly, and that will give you a real taster, The DNA of Customer Experience by Colin Shaw. If you are finding today interesting, if you're finding today engaging, if you're interested in the subject and haven't done much reading, I would urge you to perhaps have a look at that book. I'm going to give you a flavour of it now. So Colin Shaw has done a substantial amount of work looking at the feelings and emotions that drive customers' behaviour associated with value. So loyalty and value. And he has identified that emotions, feelings, essentially can fit into 4 clusters: destroying cluster, attention cluster, recommendation, and advocacy. Of the 4, 3 are value drivers. We'll look at that a little bit more in a moment. And no surprise, does what it says on the tin. Destroying cluster destroys value. In terms of a business approach to these clusters, then the destroying cluster has to be the priority, because you as a business are either knowingly or unknowingly doing things to your customers, making them feel in a way that is destroying value. Not only that, if your customers are experiencing the emotions associated with the destroying cluster, it will be costing you money in dealing with complaints, returns, refunds, etc. And some of the emotions, or the emotions, if you like, associated with the destroying cluster is when customers are made to feel neglected, dissatisfied, frustrated, disappointed. When customers are made to feel like that, they will become value destroyers. As we move into the value drivers, we have the attention cluster. Some strange words there. Not going to go into every single one of them, but the best example, I guess the best analogy I can make of the attention cluster is if you were looking to go out for dinner on Saturday night and you hear a brand new restaurant is opened half a mile away from your house. They've done a lot of marketing. You've decided you're going to go there. It's clearly the first night. The maitre d's on his top game. The waiters and waitresses are on the top game. The chef's on the top game. The food is immaculate. The decor is mint. It's never been opened for, so the whole place is immaculate. So when you arrive, you're interested. You want to explore. There's an energy about the place that makes you equally energetic. You're stimulated by what you see going on. And as consumers, when we feel those other emotions, we become indulgent. We will spend more. And this is the only cluster that is associated with a direct increase in spend in the short term. I deliberately say the short term because the challenge here is to continue to make your clients, customers feel this way so they continue with that spend. We then move up the ladder into recommendation. As we start to move towards recommendation and advocacy, we are moving towards loyal customers and long-term relationships with customers. We are moving into a world that affects Net Promoter Score, and evoking these emotions that I'm about to show you will drive recommendation and advocacy in your customers. So what are the emotions associated, the feelings associated with recommendation? Valued, cared for, trusted, safe, focused. Recommendation is still described as a reactive cluster, in as much as if you are talking to your best friend, they say, I'm going out for a meal on Saturday night, I'm not sure where to go. You will say, wow, you should go to the church restaurant. Fantastic restaurant, went there last Saturday. The difference with advocacy is you bump into your friend across the garden fence, they will come straight out with, wow, you have got to go to the church restaurant. Fantastic place because. And ultimately, this is where we want customers to be, in the advocacy, in the raving fans cluster. The two words there are very interesting. You look at those and think, gosh, is that it? Have we only got to make our customers happy and pleased and to become advocates? I think there's a couple of caveats here. I think the first caveat is customers will have had to move through the other clusters, maybe not the destroying cluster, but certainly other clusters to arrive at happy, pleased. But let's also look at what happy, pleased means. Happy, to feel good, a state of contented joy, cheerful, a feeling showing or causing pleasure and enjoyment. So we have to work quite hard to get our customers to feel that way. Pleased, very satisfied. The feeling when something good has been achieved or happens to you, a state of heightened satisfaction. So again, we're going to have to work quite hard to get our customers to feel this way. But again, this is the essence of customer experience management. If you can make your customers feel these emotions, they will behave in this way. Not suggesting for 1 second they are robots and they are programmable, but we know that consumers are emotional. And if we can influence their emotions, we can influence their behavior through memories. Okay. On the subject of memories then, drawing towards a close now, just again pulling it all together. Emotions drive memories which influence future behaviors. Customers can feel satisfied, more than satisfied, less than satisfied. A lot around terminology here. They can feel delighted or dissatisfied. The language we tend to work around a lot when we're using some of our models is wow, okay, and ouch. I think they speak for themselves. So, challenge to your business. How do you know if your product and service is an experience that will influence your customers' future behaviors? In other words, is creating memories in their minds that they want to repeat. How memorable will they be and what will they remember? So, if you ouch a customer, will they remember it? Absolutely, but for all the wrong reasons. If you wow a customer, will they remember it? It will create a memory. Wowing a customer, the same as ouching a customer, will create a memory. If you satisfy, if it's okay, will that create a memory? Absolutely not. So we need to be working in the world of emotions and feelings that will generate wow memories, wow experiences. As we saw from the previous slide, the destroying cluster, we need to eliminate those that are creating the ouch memories. Customer experience is about the end-to-end journey the customer goes through. We looked at the restaurant example and the various elements to that. It's about the feelings and emotions that create memories in the customer's minds that they will then base their future actions on. Customer experience management is about planning each part of the journey, looking at every single element, every single stage, identifying how we want the customer to feel based on what they want to feel, and then ensuring we do in our service and our experience what will create those feelings. We want to create those memories that they'll want to do business with us again and again. Why? Positive memories will drive loyalty, loyalty will drive spend, which will drive profit. I say simples, if only it were. I think it's relatively simple to understand. I think intuitively it makes sense. The difference being in terms of actually introducing it, bringing it into a business and making it work, rolling out a successful, effective customer experience strategy is not simple. It's the theory that's simple. And so just to finally provoke some thought in everyone. Again, Gary Hamel out of Harvard. No company outperforms its aspirations, big, hairy, audacious goals. As Michelangelo said, the greatest danger for most of us is not that our aim is too high and we miss it, but it's too low and we reach it. Aspirational description for a vision. How good do you and your organization want to be? To achieve goals you've never achieved before, you must start doing things you've never done before. Do what you do now, you'll get what you've always got. The key thing will be to start thinking differently. If you don't change your thinking, you certainly won't change your outcomes. What are the new things you need to start doing and the old things you need to